at that point, you're not there to play it safe. Like if you're not taking risks, you're not competing.
It's empowering, I mean, anybody who's done a CrossFit workout, you finish your CrossFit workout and you're like, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
Like a hunger for competition and like that super intense structure, routine. I still had that desire.
Listen to the way people feel and the motivations for doing the things that they did. It was like they were describing me to a T.
I'm not trying to solve everything for you, but I know that sometimes you just need somebody to listen.
Learned the most is how to fill my cup by filling others.
Welcome to the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. Join me as I talk with passionate people about their life's failures and successes, and most importantly, what keeps them hungry for more. What up, dogs? Welcome back to another episode of the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. I'm joined by Jerry Mathis today, one of my homies that I got to meet down at Wadapalooza there. He's a team lead for the judges team. Jerry, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing wonderful, Taylor. Man, I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm really looking forward to it.
So, bro, let's dive right into it. You told me when I was down there in Miami that you're from that area. You from Florida?
I am. I'm from Orlando. I grew up in a little town, Wildwood, that's on the end of the turnpike. I grew up there for, I don't know, I was probably till early middle school, 6th grade or so. Okay. Moved over to Orlando, graduated high school. Orlando's been home ever since. Left for the military for 20 years and was lucky enough to come home.
So if I bust down the 95, the turnpike right now from PA, I run right into you, huh?
Yeah. Hey, listen, you hit the turnpike. As soon as you hit the turnpike, that's home.
Try that bad boy down straight. A little turnpike Ike going on.
Absolutely.
So, Jerry, you got any brothers and sisters?
Yeah, man. I got 2 brothers, 2 sisters. I'm the oldest of 5.
Hey.
Yeah, love it.
You love that? You love being the older brother, like running around, kind of being in charge of all them?
Well, I mean, I'm not in charge of them anymore. I mean, we all grew up together kind of thing. So it was a great thing, but we've all kind of grown up and everybody's out doing their thing now, trying to be productive and good humans. And
hell yeah.
That's all we can ask for.
So what's the age range from youngest to oldest you?
I think it's roughly from oldest to youngest, probably 12 years.
Ooh. To
my baby sister, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe 12 years.
Did you feel connected to her since she was so much younger than you? Was y'all able to communicate and feel like you lived the same lives?
So it was a little bit different because my parents got divorced when I was young. So my parents had myself, my brother, and my sister. And then I have a half brother and a half sister. So my dad remarried,
right, and
then had my half sister. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I loved it when I was older, but I used to go see her all the time. I felt like when she was young, we had an extremely good relationship.
That's awesome.
Things got a little difficult when I left to join the military, but I mean that's what happens when you leave home for 20 years. So
right. So I had the opposite effect of that. My brother is 8 years older than me, so there was a time period where we didn't connect at all. I'm 8, he's 16. He started to go live his life, and I'm like, yo, what's up? Come play these board games with me. And he was ready to go do his thing,
Yeah, it was pretty much the same thing. But when I left to join the military, I think 19, that's when that challenge kind of happened because Uncle Sam had me everywhere. I couldn't be home for every holiday and birthdays and that kind of thing. That stuff kind of takes a toll.
Yeah.
Especially when you're the oldest.
People don't think about you're committed your life to the military, just like you said, Uncle Sam. That's your family now. Those are your brothers now,
Yeah. It comes with a cost though, right? Because I'm a firm believer in blood is always thicker than water.
Yeah.
So I've spent the last 6 or 7 years since I've been retired, trying to rekindle and build those relationships again with my siblings.
That's beautiful. So, bro, before you left for the military, did you play sports? Where was your life headed? Did you have a direction you wanted to go in?
Yo, man. So I was the typical dreamer. Always wanted to be a basketball player.
Hey.
I was a decent hooper. I come from a family of hoopers. My dad was like an all-world basketball player in the state of Florida. My uncles, so I was surrounded by ballers. So that was kind of my thing, you know. But I also grew up in that time frame where, you know, there were no video games and all that kind of stuff. So it was outside. If it had to do with a ball, I was playing it. Baseball, football, basketball. That was just what it was.
That's the life.
It was, man.
Did the men of your family, did they hand you the ball or did you go find it yourself?
I'm gonna say they handed it to me. And I say that because I spent a lot of my childhood, you know, at the park with my dad, my uncles, you know, watching them play.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I knew, you know.
Yeah, that's like the family connection right there. Bonding.
Absolutely.
Sports, you know. So does the rest of your family, your brothers and sisters, do they play sports too?
Let me think. My brother does. My sisters don't. My other brother didn't either. But so it was just me and my brother that did.
It stopped. Is that the brother that's right below you?
One right below me.
So after him, it was like, all right, nah, we ain't at the park no more.
Yeah, they were trying to have that.
So do you consider yourself a competitive person?
I do.
And like, how was that like growing up? Did y'all like butt heads?
Oh, all the time.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean, we butted heads, we fought. It was just, I mean, we did the typical, you know, brother and sister thing.
Right.
You know,
how far apart are y'all? The one that's right below you. How far apart are y'all?
4 years.
Okay, that's close.
Yeah.
You know, but that's like at 16, you put on a little bit of size, and 12, he might just be starting to get, you know, like looking like a little bit of a man, but you like already there.
Yeah, well, yeah, but so the odd thing was me and my brother, we took off after my dad. My dad is 6'2", 6'3".
Hey.
And I mean, I'm 6'5". My brother's probably 6'3". So he wasn't too far behind me.
Yeah. Y'all was able to like push each other.
Oh, yeah.
So was there like an iron sharpened iron thing? Do you have a memory of when you first looked back? It was like, damn, I was competitive as hell right there. Like I wanted to win.
Not well. I was always like that with my family. I was always like that growing up. Honestly, I wanted to win. My issue was, at least with basketball and sports back then, I didn't develop a killer instinct until later on.
Right.
You know, so I was the guy that would go out there and probably be more talented than some, but I would always, you know, play down to the level of my competition.
And that's a big thing. That's like, you see that in high school and college sports so much. And I have two athletes right now that they're twin brothers. They're both hockey players and they train together with me. And I noticed that if one is setting a pace or lagging behind, the other one never like pushes ahead. So I'm trying to like break that right now.
Yeah.
Like I know that's your brother and all, and I do want y'all to have camaraderie, but like, yo, push. And like, if you get ahead of him, go get ahead of him, make him chase you down, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, you push yourself, but that also pushes him. Yeah. I got a training partner right now that I train my homeboy, man. And I'm gonna tell you like this, buddy don't care.
Hey.
He will get in there and be like, listen, if I lap you, you get lapped. You're gonna hear about it. Yeah.
Right.
You know, so yeah. And so I mean, it pushes me. He's, I don't know, 10, 15 years younger than me. So it absolutely pushes me.
That's dope.
I look at workouts now and I negotiate workouts differently because I'll be like, okay, listen, here's my strong suit. Here's his strong suit.
Right.
So I need to stay close on this movement, but I need to get it on these over here, you know?
Right. Like I got to go to the barbell. I got to pick it right up because I know he will be a little bit slower than
absolutely.
I got to get my shit off a little bit, like when it's time for it, you know?
Absolutely.
So, bro, what made you go to the military? Do you have like a military family?
So I do. So my dad and my uncle were both in the Army.
Okay.
My mom actually went in the Army after my parents got divorced. So I left high school. I graduated from a really small high school. Didn't get a whole lot of looks for basketball. I didn't know how to apply for colleges, or I didn't know any of that stuff. So my thought process was, my mom lived in El Paso at the time. She was stationed out at Fort Bliss. So she was like, hey, come out here, hang out for a little while. You can try out for University of Texas, El Paso while you're out here.
This is after you graduated. You were already out of school, right?
Yep. So I graduated that June or whatever it was. I moved to Texas with my mom in September.
Okay.
So I went out there, got a job, was working at Blockbuster Video.
Hey,
right? Something depending on how old some of you're listening.
You might not even know what that is.
You know what I mean? But so I worked at Blockbuster, and I played on bass all the time.
Ooh.
And luckily, I ended up doing pretty well on bass. Got to try out with the team. Kind of had some things lined up. I had to pay for my spring semester, and then I was going to roll into the fall under a scholarship. Some things happened personally with my mom and her marriage at the time, and she needed for me to loan her some money, so I loaned her my tuition money, and she was not able to pay that back before the deadline, so I got angry and walked into a recruiter's office.
Man, usually people do the opposite. Like you said, you got angry and walked in. Usually people like get to that last little resort, and that's when they want making it walk in. So you walked in like what? I'm a show them. Did they want you to go the college route?
They did. Both my parents wanted me to go. My entire family wanted me to go to college route.
The oldest, the first one out the door, all that.
Right.
Did they go to college?
They didn't. So I was the first.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal, right? But it was an impulsive move for me because, again, I was angry at my mom.
Yeah.
And my thought process was I couldn't leave Texas and come back home, because I'm 19. I'm supposed to be a man, right?
Right.
So, I stepped out there, walked into a recruiter's office, and wow, 20 years later.
Life-changing, right? Absolutely. You are not the first, the second, or the third black male to tell me when they were a young black man that they didn't know how to apply for school. And that is such a mind-blowing thing because you up at you're like around the 50s, right? But even back then, 30 years ago, there should have been enough information out there. The information was out there, but so back in those days, you had to go see a guidance counselor. We call that a barrier, right? Like
absolutely right, but that's what it was. So you had to go see a guidance counselor. The school I went to, I think my guidance counselor was the executive admin for the principal. So it was just an extremely small school, right? And the adults in my family, they didn't really know. They didn't have that information because they didn't go.
Right. First generation, they're not passing you down. They're not taking you to their alma mater and showing you all the people that they probably went to school with and now work on the board,
And now I did a couple visits. I visited with Bethune-Cookman, what was, Bethune-Cookman College at the time, is now Bethune-Cookman University.
Yeah.
I did a visit down in Warner Southern, what was Warner Southern College. It's now, I think, Warner University or something like that. Got a couple offers, but it wasn't enough to cover. So Warner Southern wanted to pay me like $500 to play ball.
Okay.
It was $13,000 a semester at the time.
So
Bethune-Cookman
there.
Right. I walked into Bethune-Cookman. They wanted me to play basketball, football, and baseball, full presidential ride, but there were some issues at the time with their accreditation. So I didn't want to take that chance either. Right. Which was why I went out to Texas.
So when you are aspiring to play ball, high school, right before college, right before you enlist, is your dream to go to the league or you try to go to school to make other moves?
My dream was to go to the league.
Right.
That was my dream. I had a backup plan. My backup plan was to, go to school for aeronautics or aeronautical engineering, something like that. In case, basketball didn't work out.
Right.
And it didn't.
So you went with that backup plan.
I sure did.
So what's the first year, right? When you're enlisted, what's like losing that freedom and changing everything that you do? Like,
to be honest, it's a change, right? You lose the freedom. There's a lot of discipline that's there. It's kind of an establishment, right? It's like, I guess I would equate it to starting a new job. You spend that first year or so just trying to keep your head above water and figure out your environment that you're in, right? My first enlistment, though, man, I had some blessings. I really did. I had a lot of blessings. I turned down 2 appointments to the Air Force Academy, which, I mean, you basically have to move mountains to get. I turned down 2 of those. My first duty station, I went out to like Tacoma, Washington. I still played basketball at a very high level, though.
There you go.
The military offered that, so I played on base. I played all Air Force. I went overseas, and I played when I was overseas. Which playing overseas is more semi-pro when you're playing overseas,
right?
Because I mean, you get some ballers.
You watch a lot of these docs, right? Like even the Last Dance, it talks about how big the game became overseas and how they taking what we made and taking it to a whole new level, right?
Yeah.
And they don't have the NBA, so all them dudes out there is really ballers. It's like college ball everywhere.
Yeah, it was wild, man. It was some very competitive basketball. I loved it.
That's awesome. So I want to ask you, like, this is a perfect segue. Did you travel a lot before you enlisted, before you went down to Texas? Like, or were you like Florida boy? You like didn't go from past like an hour away?
So I was a Florida boy. Again, my dad he was in the Army. So I remember living in Fort Polk, Louisiana for a few months. I lived in Killeen, Texas, or Fort Hood for a few months. I will be there for a few months and then come back home to Florida with my aunt or my grandma or something like that.
Right.
While my dad, my parents, were out kind of doing what he was doing. So I wasn't really a traveler. For me, traveling was going to Atlanta and back.
Yeah.
So I went up to DC. I used to go to DC in the winter with my grandmother for like a week or 2, but I mean, that was the extent of it. So I wouldn't necessarily say, I did a whole lot of extensive traveling, especially before the military. I did a ton since, but.
Right. So after you enlist, just like you talk about, do you get any culture shocks? Like, do you travel anywhere and like meet different people? You're like, oh, I didn't even know that people were living like this.
Well, so my entire career was a culture shock, to be fair. You've seen me. I'm 6'5". I'm a pretty big personality. I walk into places, I become a spectacle pretty quick. Let's just say it took some getting used to.
Right.
I've been to countries where I thought I was the only Black person there in the entire country.
People think it's all good to always be the spotlight, but it's not always all good.
Right. I mean, and you got to be really comfortable in situations like that.
Right. Which
is very hard to do. Because you hear all the stereotypes. I mean, I went to New Zealand for almost a month, a little over a month. So 3.5 weeks a month. And the entire time I was there, every Black stereotype that you could think of, I heard it.
And they put it on you.
And I mean, people would ask you that in public.
Right.
Are you Michael Jordan? Can I touch your skin? Can I touch your hair? I'm like, things you're like, what?
Like, dog, would you ask a white woman named Ashley if you could touch her hair?
No, I'm saying.
It's crazy.
It was unbelievable. Like that was a really eye-opening experience for me because, again, I was there for a month and that's all I heard for a month. And I quickly realized that they honestly didn't know any better. Because the only other Black person I saw in a month, and we did a lot of traveling around that country. But the only black person I saw was this other black dude that flew down there with me.
Like y'all came together.
We came together.
It's just us two.
It was just us.
So did that put like any type of chip on your shoulder? Everybody like kind of making you a spectacle, or was you like educated and like took it with like a little bit of humility?
So I try to take a lot of things with humility. It's okay for us to have a chip on our shoulder at times, but I just think that I try my best not to be the one that's always rebellious.
Right.
Because if we don't educate people, it's going to continue the behavior, right? And if we do it with a chip on our shoulder, then it could become us being defensive. Right. And folks don't like that either.
Yeah. It's almost like they put you in situations where they prod, and then you fire back, and now you become the last stereotype, which is the angry black man.
Right.
And you want to avoid that. It's because
that's the way you're trying to avoid at all costs.
Right. Because you know they thinking it, you know they waiting on it. It's like, no, I'm not gonna get that to you. You're not gonna get that out of me.
I'm not gonna give you that satisfaction.
Right. So Jared, moving on from that a little bit, what kind of hooper were you? Were you the hooper that like exercised and stayed at the gym, or were you the hooper that was just like good at ball and like ate McDonald's and went crazy?
Again, right. We didn't do a whole lot of fast food back in them days. I to be honest with you, I never went to the gym. So I was in the driveway, at the playground, that kind of thing. I spent all my time on the court.
Right. That was your exercise.
That was my exercise. But all that changed when I joined the military.
Because that's working out, right? Like the Marines is the biggest run club, and then all the other branches they exercise too.
Yeah. So right, and I was Air Force. So I mean, but the communities I was a part of, I mean, you couldn't be out of shape.
Right.
You had to be in shape. You had to look good in uniform. There were expectations, and I mean, I ended up in a lot of kind of special duty jobs. I did, I think, 3 special duty assignments, and 2 of those 3, you had to be in shape. Right.
Had to have that high level of discipline.
Absolutely.
So when do you first hear about CrossFit? When do you start to see it pop up? When does that start to come into your life?
I remember this very vividly.
Hey, let's go.
Like 2010 or so. Excuse me. I was stationed at Herbert Field. It's an Air Force Special Operations Command. And I meet this brother. I just talked to him this weekend about this. But I meet this brother, man, and this dude is jacked. I'm talking, this brother's jacked. And he's got a chip on his shoulder, but everybody does in Special Ops Command. So I started hearing about this kind of CrossFit. It was, at the time, it was kind of making that definitive split between CrossFit and then what we knew in the community as SEAL Fit and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I hear about CrossFit. I start on a couple deployments, guys are doing, they're doing CrossFit and different things like that. I thought, like everyone else thinks when they first see something, I'm like, man, this is stupid.
Right. That's light work.
Yeah. Like this is stupid. And that's kind of crazy. Right.
Right.
Couple that with, at the time, the going rate was roughly like $150 a month. And I'm like, I'm not paying nobody $150 a month when I got access to 2 gyms on base.
Right. For what?
Right. So my training at that point was, I don't even want to call it bodybuilding, but it was more like an aesthetic kind of deal.
Right.
But that's when I was first introduced to CrossFit. I didn't even start CrossFit until I retired.
So how many more years later was that?
That was 6 years later. I retired in 2016.
Okay.
So 2016 comes around, I retire in May. I moved back down to Florida in December with my family. I distinctly remember one day, it was the day after Memorial Day. I get up off the couch from eating Doritos and, drinking a Coke or whatever the heck it was at the time. And I just decided to go get on the scale. And I got on the scale and I was the heaviest I had ever been.
Oof.
And that happened that day, that very same day. I got out of my house. I drove down the street. I walked into the first box I found.
Hey, that was like just in your head, like I should go do CrossFit.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a try.
Right.
Because honestly, I had a membership at LA Fitness at the time. So
Did you feel like CrossFit was more similar to your Air Force training? You're like you was gonna get that same feeling.
So that's what I was hoping for.
Right.
CrossFit turned out to be much more than that. Much more than that.
That's dope. When you walk in the gym, do you have that same feeling as when you go to those other countries? Like, where are all the Black people at?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
But when you first walked into that gym, were you still like, I mean, you are you, so you're gonna be comfortable. But was you comfortable when you first walked in?
No, I was absolutely uncomfortable. Right. Again, I walk in and I'm seeing, 15, 20 people slinging barbells and D-balls and dumbbells and all kinds of crap's going on. Music is blaring. It's absolute chaos to me is what I see.
Right.
Right. And I'm like, and no joke, I'm like, I talked to the owner at the time. He's like, look, man, you can come in here and train for a week for free and try it out. I'm like, hey, okay, let's try it.
Right.
Let's give it a shot.
So how'd that week go?
Oh, that week was painful.
Did you fall in love though right away? Was you got it?
It's like instantaneously.
At that time, was you still balling? Like, did you put the ball down?
No, I still haven't put the ball down.
There you go.
I will not put the ball down until the good Lord takes it from me.
Hey,
I can't run like I used to. I definitely can't jump like I used to because of arthritis. But listen, if I can sit here and do heavy cleans and heavy snatches, I can pick a ball up.
Right.
And plus, both of my kids play basketball. So I got to make sure they understand where they get it from.
So now the question I asked you earlier go apply here. Did you hand them the ball or did they find the ball?
I handed them the ball.
You wanted to keep passing that on?
Absolutely.
Wait, so did your dad's dad, did you know him and did he play ball?
Oh, I knew my grandpa. My grandpa he didn't play ball, but my grandpa was a businessman.
Okay. That's the one. So you handed your kids the ball, right? How old are they now?
My son's 15. Daughter she's 12. She'll actually be 13 tomorrow.
That's dope. Do y'all bond like over sport and exercise the same way that you did with your parent, your dad, your uncle?
Absolutely.
That's dope, dog. Did they come into the gym with you?
So they will be this summer. When they're out of school, they do.
Yeah, because it's hard, right?
Right. So I'll take them to the gym. My daughter and I sat down and we watched the entire Final Four together. So it's just, my wife and I are both athletes. So my kids are they're gonna need to be athletes to some degree.
Just to like coexist easiest, right? Like
absolutely.
That goes through osmosis. Man, but you talk about the Final Four. I was just reading the stat this morning, like the women's championship, the Iowa versus LSU, they said that they had more views than every Thursday night football game from last year. They have more views and streams than every Stanley Cup ever since like the 1970s. They had more streams than the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl. I was like, oh my God, what a time to be in female sports now. Like,
tell me about it, right? It's a beautiful thing.
It's great, man. Like, God rest the dead. Kobe Bryant probably smiling up in heaven right now.
Oh my gosh. And I sit here and I think about it. Again, I have a daughter, right, that plays basketball. So I've always been a fan of the WNBA.
Yeah.
But the WNBA has never created a transition, from college to professional the way the NBA has for men. And I think we may have kicked that door down now. I hope, because I tell a lot of people, I've watched basketball for, my goodness, as long back as I can remember, so 40 years or so. And I have never seen a tournament as exciting as this one was.
Oh my God, it was going crazy. And then
I lived through the Grant Hill days and, the North Carolinas with Jerry Stackhouse and all those guys. I lived through those days. I've never seen something this exciting though.
When I turned on ESPN, I heard Caitlin Clark saying she doesn't think that Angel Reese should get any sort of feedback, any sort of negativity.
That's real.
I was going crazy turning my TV up. Like, oh my God, I'm glad she just said that. Like,
but she's been saying that from the jump, we got all this extracurricular race crap going on with this. That girl doesn't care. She scored 191 points in 3 games.
Went crazy. They said in the fourth quarter she was involved in every single point scored, whether it be an assist or her scoring herself. I'm like, people that don't play sports can't really understand that, especially if you never play ball, you don't understand the game. To be involved in every time your team scores for an entire quarter, that's
Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan,
exactly,
Shaquille O'Neal level, right? The ball must go through them,
right?
Like, that's just crazy.
I'm going to affect the game crazy,
I heard a reporter say something like, they're like, oh, yeah, Caitlin Clark had a ho-hum game with 30 points. I was like, wait, time out. A ho-hum day with 30 points?
I mean, I guess maybe her level, because she'd be dropping 51 on them, but you can't say ho-hum.
30 points is MVP.
Right.
Stats. Hence why she turned out to be the AP Player of the Year.
Right.
Right. I'm not taking nothing from Angel Reese or LSU. They beat them. They beat them good.
Right.
But at the same time, we need to recognize everyone that was on that court that contributed to what that was. I almost flew my family out to Dallas to go watch that game.
Ooh. Yeah, that was dumb excited. It's beautiful to see that happening at the collegiate level too for those young girls. Because first of all, I was reading about the LSU team. They said that they all out there going for master's degrees and stuff like that. They stayed in school. They try to finish get their degrees before they move on to the league or wherever else they're gonna go. It's like, whew, that's crazy to hear stuff like that.
But they have to, because I think I saw a stat saying that the top annual salary right now in the WNBA is $252,000 a year. Ooh. To you and I, that's great money, maybe, right?
Right. To someone flying around the country for 9 months is different.
A professional basketball player in the WNBA making $252,000 when the male counterparts are making what I think at one point in time Jordan made $36 million in 1 year.
And they say LeBron put $10 million a year into his body.
Right.
So if you want longevity, you just have to invest in yourself. So that $250,000 is just going into your eating bill or your massage bill,
right?
Your trainer bill.
And how many NBA players do we see have to go overseas in the off season to play and make money?
Right.
But Brittany Griner's got to do it. Candace Parker had to do it. All of these top names in the WNBA have to go overseas to make money in the off season. So I'm hoping that this tournament kicked that door down.
Right. We'll wait and see. Next basketball season it's going to turn up again. Is Clayton Clark? Is she leave? She not leaving this year, right? She back next year.
She's back.
So, they're gonna run it back. They're gonna turn it up again.
She's got 2 more years.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Everybody out there listening, man, just wait and see. Next March. Oh, get ready.
It's gonna be beautiful.
But back to CrossFit, man. So what's that first year that adjustment period? Just like the military before, when do you kick it up? When do you get into training more than just doing the classes?
Oh, listen, man, I dove in. That didn't take long at all. So I joined, like I said, the day after Memorial Day in 2017. And I judged my first competition in October, competed at another competition in November.
Damn.
And I went and got my L1 in January.
So you just went bang, 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 back to back.
I dove in. I literally fell in love with CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I'm still in love with it. It drives me crazy sometimes, but.
Well, I bet. What was that first event you judged at, and how was that? Did you get more stress from competing a month later, or from judging that second month?
So first event I judged was the Central Florida Throwdown, which is it was a pretty big competition here. Nervous is an understatement. I think I learned more judging that competition than any of the 3 competitions I've competed in.
Right.
Because when you know how it is, right? When you go compete and you go train, you're about getting max lifts in the shortest amount of time, doing whatever it is. I'm getting the work done, right? When I'm judging, I now have to really make sure that that's happening in the right manner, in the way that, CrossFit wants that to happen, or whoever's programmed that workout wants that to happen. I got to level that playing field for everyone.
When you're a team lead, or when you're out there on the floor, like, what are your roles, goals? What are you looking for? What are you doing out there?
This is going to sound a little generic when I say this, but what I look for is cohesion, uniformity, and ultimately I want perfection. That's not perfection to sit here and kind of Monday morning quarterback somebody from a call or something like that. I want to make sure everybody is seeing the same thing, hopefully from the same point of view. Understand, hey, here's what the movement is supposed to do, that kind of thing. Being a team lead it's way more difficult than just being a line judge. Because being that line judge, I go out and I worry about my lane, right? Commanding my lane and commanding my athlete.
Right.
When I'm a team lead, I'm looking more so to protect my judges and put them in situations to where they can be successful. Because again, I've been on that athlete side. So it's all about go, 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 right? I got to make sure I set my judges up for success.
Thanks. So did you have that before you went to the military, that discipline and chasing perfection, or was that something that developed over time?
So that was something that definitely developed over time. I wish I had that before I joined the military.
That like, yo, this is how things are going to be. This is like the standard we're going to uphold, and we're going to uphold it,
Yeah.
So now let me ask you, how did you progress to this, man? Like the first event that you judged at, bigger event, but not like super, super big. How did you go up the ranks? What was the next thing you judged at?
So the very next thing I judged at, I think, was actually the following year. So I got my L1, and then I did my first year at Wodapalooza.
Hey. So now we're 2017 or 2018?
That's 2018.
Okay.
So I walked into was that 2018? No, the last regionals was 2018, right?
Correct. Yeah. Then they went to sanctionals next year?
Yes. So I did Wodapalooza in 2018, and then I've done Wodapalooza every year since.
What was that first year like? You got any memories and takeaways from that?
Wow. Wow. I try to share this when I meet new judges at Wodapalooza, right? We all get into CrossFit for our own reasons, whether it's purely the fitness side of it, or, we want to fanboy, fangirl, whatever it may be. The thing I love about Wodapalooza is a community event.
Yeah.
So it's one of those events, and it's in Miami. Everyone wants to come to Miami.
Facts.
That's just the way it is, right? So you see all of the big names, they all come in. My first year, I was on Flagler stage. I've never worked another stage besides Flagler.
Hey.
But so I'm on Flagler stage, and I ended up on an elite team. My first time, it was Team Misfit.
Ooh.
And I got caught.
18, that was when Misfit was Misfit back then.
That was Misfit. And then I got caught in a dispute.
Ooh.
So that was my indoctrination to Saturday at Wadapalooza.
Man.
But I learned a lot. I learned a ton. My leads trusted me to the point to where, again, they won't let me work another stage. You know, every time I've gone back, it's always like, hey, you're going back to Flagler. It's like, okay, good. I love Flagler stage.
Right, I'm with it.
You know, but yeah, so that first Wadapalooza was chaotic, as Wadapalooza normally is.
It's Miami, man.
It was a very eye-opening experience, but very intimidating at the same time.
Right.
You know, at the end of the weekend, though, I recall Sunday night, we were sitting there talking with the team leads and everybody, and it was just like, man, I can't believe we pulled that off. And I couldn't believe I survived the weekend, but it was great.
Yeah. When you sat down, when you having that conversation, like, were you already like, I'm coming back next year? Did you know that right away?
No, every year, and this happens every year. Every year, I'm like, I'm not coming back and doing this again. This is way too chaotic for me. You know, and then every year I turn around and I go back.
When do you start making that decision? What do you put it in your brain? Like, all right, you know what? I might go back out there.
Well, I feel like the chaos is manageable.
Yeah.
Right. I go back because number one, I love the community. Number two, I cut my teeth on Wadapalooza. So Wadapalooza is kind of near and dear to my heart. And I love that look when a brand new judge hits that floor, and it's that whole, like, the eyes wide open when that athlete comes out and they're like, oh my God, this is whomever it may be. You're like, hey, let's go. This is what I got
there on that floor at night, man, and all the athletes come out.
Oh.
It's like, oh, we here.
And you look in the stands are packed.
Yeah. And they got the VIP. I don't know how many years they had that. They had the VIP up there. I remember I had a heat off. I looked up. I'm like, oh, A-Rod's up there. All right. Okay. Yeah. This is happening right now. I'm telling you, Wadapalooza is a great competition to cut your teeth on. Right.
I mean, I've been in the pit standing next to Matt Frazier, standing next to, Pat Vellner, Tia Claire Toomey. It's just, and you're kind of standing there looking like, holy smokes, I can't believe this.
Ooh. I don't know if I've told a story on this podcast before, man, but the individual finals was that Friday night, right? Because they go to teams the next day.
Yep.
I'm sitting there. I'm watching the men's final. I'm now off the floor. I work the women's. I'm off the floor over there with the equipment crew. Like, we're all jockeying around, watching it go down. It's like Ricky, Pat, all them going head to head. I hear this like little old lady like next to me, and she's kind of like asking a few questions about what's going on. And there's a voice behind her that's like, oh, that's Pat Vellner. He's such and such a year Games athlete. That's Ricky. This is his first year back, like kind of breaking it down to her. I'm watching the action, so I'm not really paying attention. When it's over, I turn around and I see that it's Matt Frazier telling this lady what's going on out on the floor, and she has no idea what it is. I don't know if she had like a kid out there that was doing like one of the RX or scale things, and that she was just watching the final because that's what everyone else was doing. I'm like, yo, this lady has no idea that she has the greatest CrossFitter ever giving her like a play-by-play right now on the floor. I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever experience anything like this again in my life. Like Michael Jordan don't be sitting in the stands breaking down the game to somebody. We got the GOAT out here doing this right now.
So I'm going to give you one quick Matt Frazier story. 19.5, a friend of mine gets invited down to Loudon Live to watch. They had like special event tickets, go down to Loudon Live and watch. So he takes me with him. Like, dude, let's go down here. Let's go watch. So we go down to 19.5. That was that horrible, like crazy Fran type workout.
Was it thrusters and double unders?
It was thrusters and chest to bar, but it was like the 33 it was a nasty workout.
Yeah.
So Matt and Tia are going head to head in this workout. Matt wins the workout, so they award them both bottles of champagne. Matt comes over and gives me his bottle of champagne.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have a moment or two, take a couple photos, kind of thing. Gives me the bottle of champagne. It's all over the Buttery Bros little their video,
Yeah.
or whatever, right? But it was the coolest moment because the guy is so down to earth.
Yo, for real.
He is so down to earth.
Yeah. And I met him at, what was it? What happens in Ohio? The Rogue something. No, the Arnold Classic. He was there doing a little booth. And at that time, he's still competing. So he's, it's the time of the Open. He's serious. He was so relaxed at Wadapalooza because he was out. I'm like, oh, this is a dude. This is a regular dude right here. That's what he is. So that was amazing to see, just like the chill factor from Frazier. Literally lit the GOAT, man, this is amazing to see. That's what Wadapalooza is about. That's what that community event that you're talking about is about, getting to experience things like that.
Absolutely.
So it's amazing, man. So back to Wadapalooza and diversity, man. It's coming up a little bit, but when you look left and right, it's not a lot of people that look like us out there. Do you think about that when you go out to those events? Like, man, like, how do I get more of my people involved?
So I think about that when I go out to the events. I think about that when I walk in my box. I think about that when I go to anybody's box, quite frankly, right? Because I mean, let's just be fair. We're the demographic that, CrossFit from a fitness perspective and a health perspective can absolutely change our lives.
Yeah.
It's been known to drop hypertension, diabetes, all these different things, right? That kind of like
disproportionately affect us. Yeah,
we're prone to it. So I mean, I've had a couple conversations, and I think the major issue is that what we sell, and when I say we, I'm talking CrossFit, we sell the sports side of CrossFit.
Facts.
We don't do a great job of selling the fitness side of it.
Yeah.
The fitness side is the side that matters. The fitness side is what gets people into the box. Not everybody's, that 2%, 1% that's going to be an elite athlete.
Yeah.
When I look at it from a judging perspective, we pull judges from our internal community. So that's kind of a representation of our internal community. So when I go out there and I got 56 judges, and of those 56 judges, 4 of them look like me, I mean, we can do better.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to push that with a judging perspective because we're all volunteers. Nobody gets paid. They're long days and you're outside.
Right.
So it's a really difficult sell to get to just tell somebody, hey man, come here, let me work the hell out of you for 4 days. Give you a pair of shoes. Your meals are going to maybe sporadic. Breaks are sporadic. It's a really difficult sell. You gotta love CrossFit.
Takes a lot of buy-in, yeah.
Right, to be able to want to go out there and do that.
Yeah,
because that's a sacrifice.
And they don't necessarily market to us, man.
No, they don't.
Since it's about the sports side of it, and a lot of us are doing like the big 3: soccer, basketball, football.
Right.
And then the other side of it is the economic part of it.
There you go. I was going to say, you got to ask why, right? There's no money in it.
Right.
I mean, Matt Frazier makes what? Well, when he was competing, $500,000 every time he won, right? That's a good piece of change. We're not talking endorsements, but he makes $500,000 when he wins.
But you got to make it to August to get that, and you got to make it to first place.
And you got an investment you got to put in, right? You got $20 for the Open, $50 for quarters, and whatever it is for semis. And on and on and on, right? And then at any point, you can get eliminated.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot of barriers just to put people in it for what they market, at least.
Right. You have having to beat out 100,000 people, and that's in one division. We even started talking about masters. So you got 200,000 people, below the masters divisions that you got to some kind of way get on top of to even have a shot.
Right.
That's hard.
I feel for a lot of the upper echelon Black athletes too, man. I remember vividly when the George Floyd, everything's happening around the Corona time, man. People are looking to like your Chandler Smiths, your Chris Harris's for like answers or responses in general.
Right.
And it's just like, I sat down and thought about, if I'm at that level, for me, I always walk into rooms and I am a Black man. Like I portray that and I protrude that, right? But it's like, I could definitely see a side of it. It's like, I want to be the best athlete and not the best Black athlete. I could definitely see that side. I could see how that would be hard, man. So I feel for them dudes that have to be the representative, because you might have just got into it to be the best athlete and not be the savior of a race or a culture,
Right. I mean, look at the work that Easy Muhammad put in. I mean, and he is in no way, shape, or form the only one, right? But look at the work that he has put in, and that guy trains like no other.
Facts.
And he just can't break through to get up into that top echelon, right? It's hard to see from a fitness side of things of how you break through in there, because I've met that dude on multiple occasions. Phenomenal athlete, even better guy, that I've talked to and spent the time with. So one has to wonder, what does it really take to make the breakthrough?
And like what I see from Easy, what I see from him is like he being an amazing Black dad and showing that all over social media. If he didn't do nothing else, that was enough for me.
Yeah.
You show me with your kids, like almost every post, working out with them, you that involved in their life. That if he didn't do nothing else, that's enough for me.
Right, but the problem is though, right? And I get that 100%, but that doesn't put food on the table. That doesn't pay his bills. And he's a CrossFit athlete. So if you have a quote unquote job that isn't paying your bills, that's a problem. He's got to find a way to make money to provide for that family, right?
Right.
And I mean, box owners put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. There's not a box owner running around here that's rich, or that's wealthy. I mean, Froning is doing a great job with Mayhem. Froning built that. Right. So give him his props where they're due. But I mean, you look at the typical box owner, I mean, these folks aren't out here just breaking the bank.
Most of them aren't even breaking even to be real. Like they pay their coaches, and that's about it. If they pay their coaches,
that's real.
I know it firsthand, man. Like making a way, like the only way that I was able to make a career out of this is doing my own thing for so long and having a brand that like people can recognize, and I make money through that,
Yeah, but you got to create that brand though, right?
And it took a while,
Right.
That's not everyone has it in them or has the ability to even be able to like wait it out and work it out to where you can build a brand.
100%. And on top of that, so you're building this brand, but you also have a level of, if you're a competitive athlete, you have a level that's invested. You have to invest in CrossFit. You got to, right? So there has to, at some point, there has to be a balance that shows up, right? And I'm hoping that balance has already shifted to where, okay, cool, I can make a living for myself, that kind of thing, and I can still invest in CrossFit, and I'm not losing anything.
Yeah, because we never want to see that happen.
Right.
So switching gears here at the end of the episode, this quick question for you. When you see things like the Andrew Hiller out there, probably talking about like some of your friends and colleagues, like how do you feel about like that whole situation over the past year and a half of CrossFit?
I met him on a couple occasions. Super smart guy. He makes some valid points at times.
Facts.
My issue with Andrew or the manner that he puts out his content, I'll say that. It's not with him. Just the manner he puts out his content.
Yeah.
Is that it doesn't offer solutions. Right? There are no real solutions. On top of that, though, now you couple that with, I feel like HQ is
because you're separate from them, right? And I don't think a lot of people understand that.
I'm 100% volunteer.
There's three different like people just in that situation. The judges that are volunteer, the non-volunteer people that are on the outside, like your Hillers. I mean, not to like use him, but him, and then HQ. You know,
right. So HQ is you're talking semifinals and different things like that. Anything that's quote unquote sanctioned, they run. So they'll run programming for it or all that kind of stuff, right?
Standards, all that stuff.
Right. The problem is, so you and I are on the front lines out there doing things. And then you got Hiller critiquing that. And then you have HQ that they sometimes don't put out the clear standards. They definitely don't respond very quickly to us that are actually on the front lines with it. It's just, there's a disconnect to where you got a lot of volunteer judges that the first time you hear from HQ is when you're getting a briefing, getting ready to go out and do a WOD.
Right.
At that point, it's a little late. You saw at Wadapalooza this year, there were a couple of workouts where we had to modify some things changed on the fly. Scorecards aren't updated. That stuff's not updated. Those things create, undue chaos.
Man, I just ran an event over the weekend, and it was a lifting event. You lose one or two scorecards, that podium start changing around a little bit. Things can happen quickly. And like, I MC it and run it. So as the event director, I am not cognizant of everything that's happening on the floor. I just can't be, So, and this is a local event, in-gym event. Now you times that by 10, you have 10,000 athletes out there. Things are going to happen. I think that CrossFit has become big, and the screens that we put in front of all our faces all the time, it makes it seem like everything is complete, right? 100%. Right. We figured this all out. But what it really is this is still an evolving sport.
It is.
I think that a lot of people's frustration comes from that HQ doesn't let us be in on the evolving process of it. And I understand why that's frustrating.
So I'll tell you what I saw this year. I was very, very lucky a few weeks ago to go judge quarterfinals with Training Think Tank.
Nice.
And that entire setup, the way we worked that setup was probably one of the most well-run things I've done since I've been judging.
So when athletes and judges get together and there is no third piece, then it goes well.
So HQ sends down the workout, right? Everybody gets the workout. And then what we were able to do, athletes, judges, coaches, we sat or walked the gym. Hey, let's set up. Here's how we're going to set up. Here's how we're going to move the cameras. Here's how we're going to film. Here's how we're going to do all this stuff. We were measuring out distances. We were doing all these different things, right? Movement standards. We went over movement standards with them. Hey, here's what I'm looking for. Here's where I will be to stay out of your video so the clocks and everything is seen, but I'm going to be right here judging you. And if at any point in time something went awry, we could shut that workout down, talk about what we did, make adjustments, and go right back after it.
That's what all approaches have.
It was incredible.
Everyone on the bubble would have that, but it's not gonna happen. But dude, when I turn on Instagram and I see that going on at all these different training camps, I'm like, okay, so these people are trying to alleviate ended up on a Hiller video, which is awesome.
Right.
That's great.
Right. So you look at the V-ups. The V-ups were a big thing for Hiller this year.
Right.
Huge thing. We had tons of discussions about V-ups before we did them.
The funny thing is, and he repeats it so much, CrossFit throws in that little sentence in there that they have the right to modify things, and this is the layout plan, but there might be additional stuff in it. So it's like, there's always that little bit of wiggle room, man.
And that's great. I don't mind the wiggle room, right? But I think the other thing CrossFit does not think about, especially with quarterfinals and different things like that, is they don't take consideration into what folks' boxes are set up like.
What they look like. Yeah, we had a lot of that because I'm a pretty big boxer I'm in right now, man. And we still were having issues, especially with the quarterfinal workouts for the layout.
We had to set up moving. We had to set up moving a camera and moving a clock.
Yeah.
Because we had 20, 25 feet of distance between the rig, barbell, and where the rope was hanging.
Right.
For the rope climb event. So I mean, it's things like that where you see the video, and we were kind of worried because certain things have to remain in that video, otherwise it invalidates the video.
Yeah, and you got to try to uphold a standard too.
Well, that and these athletes are fighting for something. This is their way of life,
right?
So we want to make sure again that we set them up for success and we get it right. Because Hiller's watching, first of all. He doesn't scare us, but he's watching, But we want to be able to have things set in place so that way, if there is something, we can go back to HQ and go, look, here's what we did. Here's how we did it. Check the video.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect time to ask this now, man. So with the season really turning up right now, semifinals games coming up, what are you hungry for? What's next for you?
So next for me is I'll be at semifinals here, semifinals East. I'll be judging there. I'll probably go to the games and judge the games as well. But outside of those two, I'm hungry to try to make the age group online qualifier next year. So I've kind of refocused my own training. I want to test myself this year. I want to really kind of bring those competitive juices back and kind of and see what I can do. I'm 46 years old. I want to see what I can do.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. I love when people turn it back up. It's like, all right, I got that itch again. I think I can still run around a little bit.
Hey, I got to keep up with these young bucks, man.
Hell yeah.
I'm not going to be that old dude running around. One thing, if I'm the old dude running around, like, man, that dude's strong as heck.
That's dope, yo.
I think it's gonna be cool. First year that CrossFit's run the semifinal. I mean, the last 2-3 years I was up at Mid-Atlantic CrossFit Challenge doing their semifinal, which was incredible.
Right.
So at least I get to save a little bit of money and sleep in my own bed during this semifinal.
Hell yeah, yo. All right, Jerry, it's been a great episode, man. It's been a great chat with you, bro. I love learning about all this stuff. I'll be back out. I'm going to the next Masters Fitness Collective in September. I told Amen I would come back to that, though.
Awesome, my man. I appreciate it, Taylor.
My girl okayed that once. This is a little bit of a break.
Hey, I get it, man. I know how it is. My wife looks me all crazy, too, when I tell her I'm going to one of these things. I'm pretty happy with the semifinal schedule because this year's the weekend before Memorial Day. Typically, it's Memorial Day weekend. And like I said, I was up in Knoxville the last few years for it. So I get semifinal. I still get to do semifinals in my backyard. And then, I can go do something on Memorial Day weekend too with the family. So
hell yeah, that's what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
All right, my man. Jared, like I said, it's been a great episode. We'll link up again soon, man. I'm sure I'll see you in one of these comps out here.
I appreciate it, man. It was an absolute joy talking with you.
Hell yeah, bro. It was a great time. All right, dogs. About to go back to work, both of us, and peace.